Well, hello there. So this should be your first week of just actively learn activities. Make sure that as you're going along here, you're doing all the work and putting it in. I hope it's smoother. I hope it helps out a lot. Trying to help you guys as much as I can from here. Sure wish you was around you guys. I miss you absolutely tons. So if you're doing the things in the order, you should have watched 2 videos already and hopefully answered the questions as you were going on those about Sputnik. And the first one was that the Soviets were able to put something in space before anybody else had ever done that. Ever. And it scared the tar out of us. Oh my gosh, they could do this, we can't. I mean, we knew they had the atomic bomb, but we knew that we'd also caught a number of spies that had given them information for that. So obviously, they weren't smart enough to come up with the atomic bomb. It was that they stole it from us. But wait, we can't put something in space. Holy crud, that means that these guys might be actually intelligent. Oh, and then, it wasn't a fluke because they do it again. They put something else in space, another Sputnik, but this time they put a dog in there. And yeah, I know there's lots of dog lovers in here are probably upset by watching that video, and I apologize for that. But this dog ends up going around the world about 4 times and then dies. And the president said at the time, the only thing that's really changed is the fact is that we now have a carcass of a dog circling the world, but we don't have the ability to do that. And what it does is it scares us. I mean, not just a little. It terrifies America. It puts fear massively into our society, and it becomes the thing. Have you ever thought about fear? I mean, not that we live in fear all the time now. I mean, murder hornets. Holy crud, there's murder hornets here in Washington State. These things are like this big. I mean, they're huge, and they've come from nowhere. And COVID started here too. I'm moving states. If everything starts here in Washington State, I'm out of here because this isn't safe, for goodness sake. And I mean, the problem with fear? People make dumb decisions when they're living in fear. I mean, watch a horror movie. And there's always a couple people that take themselves out, basically, because they're just stupid with fear. But the deal is, fear is something that we perpetuate in our society. We keep that going. The media loves it. It runs and runs and runs with these horrible stories about bad things happening. And then everybody thinks, oh my gosh, this could happen to us, except for you guys, teenagers, you're invincible. Nothing's ever going to happen to you. But old farts that are watching Fox and CNN continually, they get scared. And this is really interesting. And because of that, people make bad decisions. And speaking of bad decisions, during the 50s, people are ultimately afraid of communism. I mean, these are bad people that are meaning to do us harm. At least that's what we believed. But they've got the atomic weapon, and they're coming over here. We know that we've caught some spies already. And then the House Un-American Activity Committee over in the House are looking for communists. But the one that really, really gets a name for himself, and that you'll be doing some research and looking at today, is Joseph McCarthy. And Joseph McCarthy even has something named after him: McCarthyism. The idea that somebody is guilty until they can prove themselves innocent. When you really think about that, that's terrifying. I've had some experience with that. I've been in a meeting with superiors that are looking at me saying, "Why did you do this?" And I didn't do it. But they're saying I did. And I'm trying to prove myself innocent. Luckily, I believe you guys have all read The Crucible. And that's what it's about. That's the concept and idea behind a witch hunt, is you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. And that's impossible. There's a reason why our government and our judicial system was set up around the deal of you are innocent until they prove you guilty. But when you flip that, and our society does at times, it's terrifying. And it causes fear. We're looking at each person to see whether or not, are they a communist? Should I tell on them? What should I do? Fear. You know, another thing that came out in the 1950s, we're not going to have time to look at it, but horror movies really came into their golden age in the 1950s. And almost all of these movies have to do with the fact that something invades and we have a very hard time stopping it. And it's only at the last minute. Giant ants in the movie Them, the Thing, from outer space, in the back of my room, which I'd be pointing at it right now, the attack of the 50-foot woman, what are we gonna do? It's interesting that these things to cause fear, these ideas about fear, became massive in the 1950s. Fear's a killer. People make bad decisions when they live lives in fear. All right, so you had 2 videos on Sputnik with questions. You got this, which is going to have some questions on there, stopping this beautiful flow. And then after that, you've got, it looks like 1, 2, 3 different other assignments that I want you to do on the Cold War and McCarthyism and the feeling that was happening at this time. So, love you guys. Miss you tons. Thanks for sticking with us. Bitter batter. Let's get at her.